Like I told you, you're on my wall.
Oh, oh my God. I'm
Isn't that funny?
honored. Okay, guys, I'm in the New York Times article behind Carlo.
Yeah.
I'm
I
so
got a
honored to
mention,
be
so
on
I had
your
to frame it.
I'm honored to be on your wall. I don't even have a copy. I need to get one. I need to harass some New York Times journalists.
You do.
Carlo, thank you for taking the time to join me on my little channel because I'm sure you're very busy. And as most people watching me probably know, I've obviously been covering the SBF FTX debacle for quite some time, but I'm no lawyer. And Carlo here is an actual attorney. You are a criminal defense attorney that mostly works in the crypto space.
Well, I have a lot of emphasis on the crypto space, but because it's still new, and excuse me, there's a storm here in East Texas. So if you hear rain and thunder, that's out of my control.
Better than
But
Dubai.
exactly. It's still a smaller part of my practice because it's still new and emerging technology, but it is starting to catch on and get traction.
Well, then you probably just have a long history of dealing with non-crypto criminals as well.
Yeah, I've been doing this over 25 years, and it's fair to say I've seen it all from minor marijuana possession cases all the way up to I've been involved in death penalty cases. So, yeah, I've seen it all.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
perfect guy to ask about Sam Bankman-Fried and his sentence and everything like that. So I'm just hoping you can shed some light on some things.
happy
So
to.
obviously, Sam was sentenced to 25 years in prison, but Judge Lewis Kaplan recommended he go to a medium or low security facility as close to the San Francisco Bay Area as possible. So just quickly, I wanted to see if you had any guesses at what federal prison he would end up at.
It is hard to say. The way it works in the federal system is that the Bureau of Prisons is going to make a designation recommendation. The judge, obviously, at sentencing, made his own recommendation to the Bureau of Prisons as to where SBF should be housed. But what's going to happen is there is a unit of the Bureau of Prisons down in Grand Prairie, Texas, actually not too far from me, that handles uh, placing inmates. And there are several considerations when placing an inmate. Of course, one of the considerations is, are there going to be co-defendants who have cooperated and testified against Sam? You certainly don't want him in prison with people that have testified against him because that can invite problems. And then
Yes.
there are issues with respect to his specific mental health needs. So he's probably going to go to a unit that will be able to cater to those needs. So the designation unit at the Bureau of Prisons is going to make the ultimate call where he goes. They try the best they can to keep him close to family.
But nothing definitive yet. Okay, thank you
No,
for that insight. And then
absolutely.
I've gotten a lot of comments from people saying Sam's going to be out of there in 5 years, etc. I don't think people are aware that there is apparently no parole in the federal system. So I was
Correct.
wondering though, how many years do you think Sam would actually serve?
So he will get credit for the time he's been serving, waiting for trial and waiting for sentencing. So that's a no brainer. That's easy. There
Even
is
during
no
house arrest?
No. A lot of clients often ask that. Will I get credit for the time that I was on pretrial release or on house arrest? No, that does not apply towards the prison sentence. So
Okay.
he'll get credit for all the time he sat in that detention center waiting for his trial and his sentencing. And I'm sorry about the thunder again, but oh well.
It's okay.
So now, with respect to how much time he'll do, you are absolutely 100% correct. Parole has been abolished in the federal system. It is not a day for day sentence scenario because the Bureau of Prison has the discretion to award good time. It usually ends up being, as long as he has no disciplinary issues, which frankly, I don't foresee that he will. I don't think he's
Mhm.
going to be going there to make trouble. But little things like having contraband in his room, if he sneaks a phone in or whatever, these are things that can affect that. But generally, you do about 85% of your sentence in the federal system.
Okay, which would still leave him at something like 21 years.
Yes.
And I've heard that there are programs he could do, like the drug program, but I personally don't see Sam doing one of those programs. I mean, he's been very adamant throughout this that he's like, I don't have a drug problem. I don't recreationally do drugs. So I don't see him actually doing any of those things. So likely
No,
just the 85%.
exactly. I mean, his tone and his attitude about that might change once he understands the reality of day-to-day prison life. We talked about this yesterday on my show. Prison takes a significant toll on people. It ages people and it impacts their health. Now, he doesn't have a drug problem per se, but he was using Adderall. Was he abusing Adderall? Probably not. Will he have a change of heart with respect to how even the use of prescription drugs may have impacted his life? And that might give him an opening because if he gets into that program, then he gets credit for that, and it could, towards the end of his sentence, move him into a halfway house to serve maybe the last remaining 6 months of his sentence. So that could impact his attitude on that.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. We'll see if he changes his mind. And I will just
Right.
note that, like, yeah, Sam mentioned to me in a recent conversation that he thinks that he might die before he gets out in 25 years. I don't know. So could he potentially be eligible for any sort of compassionate release or any sort of early release?
That is always a possibility. We saw a massive spike in the use of the compassionate release option during COVID. It generally applied to people that were either elderly or in poor health to begin with. And if they can make a compelling case to the federal judge that their continued imprisonment would potentially impact their lifespan and their health and safety, then the judges were inclined to grant. Now, he's young. He's in, obviously seems to be in relatively good health. So unless something changes, it's unlikely. There is obviously, of course, and people have speculated about this, and I think it's complete pipe dream that he would get somehow pardoned. I don't see, if Joe Biden loses this upcoming election, that he is going to, at the last minute before he leaves office, sign a pardon or a clemency for SBF. But that is certainly
Completely.
another option.
I completely agree. I was actually going to ask you that right afterwards because I get a lot of comments from people saying he's going to get pardoned by Biden. I'm like, no way. Okay, I'm glad that you agree with my sentiment.
I
And
just think he
then,
sprinkled his donations across both sides of the aisle. So,
true.
he played both sides of the fence. And I don't think he's a compelling figure that's going to get a lot of sympathy from the president for any kind of a pardon. I could be wrong
I,
about that. Maybe his family is able to get the ear of the president right before he leaves office. I mean, anything is possible, but I find it to be a long shot.
I highly doubt it as well.
Right.
Quick pause, but I wanted to thank the sponsor of this video, Aura. Have you ever Googled your name or email and been shocked to see your personal information available to anyone searching? There are companies called data brokers that collect and sell your information to spammers, hackers, scammers, or anyone who may want to target you. Your name, home address, health records, relatives, what you buy, it's all out there for anyone to find and buy. Your information floating around the web can put you at risk, especially during tax season when scammers are known to file fraudulent claims with readily available personal information. Last year, the IRS flagged 2.4 million tax returns with refunds totaling $13.8 billion for possible identity theft, which is one of the many reasons why I've been a longtime user of Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura monitors the web 24/7 to see which data brokers are selling my information and then automatically submits requests on my behalf to remove me from these lists. Cleaning up my information not only reduces the amount of spam I get, but protects me from hackers who could use this type of information to help them access my social media accounts, bank accounts, or other sensitive information. With Aura, you also get credit monitoring, antivirus software, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft monitoring, insurance, and more, all in a single app at one affordable price. You might already have one or even a few of these tools, but not having all of them is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. Protect yourself and don't get scammed this tax season. Go to aura.com/Tiffany to start your 2-week free trial, also linked down below in the description box. Thank you so much to Aura, and back to the video. So actually, yeah, Judge Lewis Kaplan ordered Sam to forfeit $11 billion. But I was wondering how exactly that works, since Sam obviously doesn't have $11 billion in his possession and will most likely never make $11 billion in his lifetime.
Right. So here's how it works. Sam gets out and he, let's say, publishes a memoir, and he makes a ton of money on a publishing advance. He's going to have an order of restitution hanging over his head. It's going to be the equivalent of an IRS lien that will follow him. It's a judgment of forfeiture as well that will follow him. Those judgments would have to be satisfied. So if he comes into a substantial amount of money, the government is going to move against that. As far as the restitution side, they're going to put him on a schedule and they're going to squeeze him and make him pay and continue to pay. So one way or the other, if he comes into money, they're going to have a shot at getting their money back.
Would it basically be a percentage of whatever he earns, or could they just take anything, like everything he makes in the future?
It's a percentage usually. They can't leave him completely destitute, but they certainly can limit what he can do with the money he has, and they can certainly garnish his bank account, garnish his wages. They have a lot of power.
Oh, you've been the perfect person to ask about this. I mean, we were literally in court at Sam Bankman-Fried's trial together.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
perfect person to ask. Thank you so much for your insights. And obviously, where can people find you or follow you?
Yeah. So I'm on Twitter, Defi Defense Law, and that is probably the number one way to follow me. Also, if anyone is interested in more information about me, you can always check me out at defidefenselawyer.com or cryptocriminaldefenselawyer.com. And I'm always, always, always happy to come on shows and talk and educate the community. I also have my own show that you were kind enough to join me on, LexLine.
Yesterday.
That is on the Rug Radio platform, and I do that as a weekly Twitter Space interview. So those podcasts are available as well. You can check them out on either Apple, iTunes, or Spotify at LexLine.
Amazing. And I'd probably love to have you back on sometime if you have free
Anytime.
time. I'm sure you're
Happy
very
to.
busy. Thank
Happy
you so
to.
much for coming on, Carlo, and I'll talk to you soon, hopefully.
Thank you, Tiffany. Always a pleasure talking with you.